Thank you very much, Freak. First off, I'd like to welcome back Crumbs to the desk today to help us break down this one. An SKT versus Baeme here to contrast the last game. These are the two teams in that group that won yesterday. So coming in with 1-0 records, looking to extend that lead and top the group 2-0. And SKT showing that tournament prowess, you know, that very calm under pressure, a very clean win as the casters just mentioned.
I mean, just such a contrast from the previous game. I just tweeted it, but honestly, the gulf between Flashballs and SKT when it came to closing out a lead was just amazing. So decisive. They played as if LCK Summer 2016 never happened. You know, they never had the hiccups that kind of plagued them, that really dropped down their expectations among all the analysts. They look like they've certainly practiced. They've used that boot camp time well, and they're here to play.
And the game was just all business for them. Nice and easy. They played it very well. Few mistakes here and there. And one of the things that I really liked about it in particularly was their ability to just make cross-map plays. And we're going to have a replay about this. And what's going to happen is that we're going to see that Baeme is going to go for a braum roam into the top side of the map. Immediately, SKT responds to the bottom side. And we can roll the clip out right here as we see the braum responding and moving down towards the bottom side. But SKT immediately goes for the invade. And they're going to set up a dive down here in the bottom side. And this is where it all goes downhill for Baeme. That you're just going to see the sivir just harass out Jinx. And once this chunk happens, it spells disaster for Baeme.
I mean, this is following what was, you know, a disaster for SKT to a degree in the mid lane, but they recover from that, make map movements in order to get themselves back into the game.
Yeah, they played around pressure really smartly. As Crumbs was saying, before this, they saw the support in the top lane, so they invaded ryze jungle. They took extra objectives. It was never about focusing on one thing. It was playing off information. It was showing solid, succinct communication. And that's one of the best teams in the world playing at their best.
And if we go all the way back to Champion Select, SKT also doing their research. They're able to get the nidalee out of it with a bunch of winning lanes. So they have that pressure right off the bat and easily transfer it into a pretty quick win.
Just look at that goal difference over time. That is pretty much a perfect snowball. And you cannot get a better curve than that. 31:53, an incredibly quick time. Just such a solid performance by them.
Yeah, I mean, I think even in those times where you're seeing the game feels like it stalls out because SKT's not taking turrets, what they're doing instead is taking jungle camps, and that's where that gold lead continues to grow, whereas other teams might stall 5K, 5 minutes later, still 5K, SKT will grow that lead in some way, shape, or form.
And I want to compare it to Flashballs again, because once again, Flashballs have had good early games. You can't even talk about compositions, because SKT didn't really have initiation. They had Sivir and Karma, they could run fast, but lockdown CC, not something they had. They still played with the tools they had. They used it to push the advantages. There was never a time for ryze to split push. That's where he really shines in a 1-3-1. They just strangled the Baeme team out of the game, and again, very comfortable.
Yeah, ryze struggling from level 2 when Faker goes with the chase with Cassiopeia, and then the wave is frozen in front of Faker's turret. 10 CS right there at like 4 minutes into the game. Avoidless has to come and try and even up with that little skirmish, but it was all makeup. They were trying to make up ground the entire time there for Baeme.
And what I really like about him is, as you mentioned, we were talking beforehand, that the composition just has no crowd control for SKT. It's very hard for them to initiate, to catch somebody out, but they just play so well around the map. They're able to understand where to put pressure, where to vision, and where to see where Baeme is going so that they can just strike in the opposite side of the map. One of my favorite things, especially about the replay as well, is the fact that making cross-map plays is one of the most beautiful things about League of Legends. You see something happen in one side of the map, how well can you punish the other aspect? And every time you do that, if you can prevent one side from giving it too much and get the rest from the other, you're going to get these incredibly clean snowballs.
In a relatively clean game from SKT, player of the game is going to Faker in the mid lane. I, for one, would not want to be subbed in for my first game at Worlds against Faker. Baeme actually performed relatively well considering in terms of picking up a few extra kills, but ultimately Faker's Cassiopeia, I mean, just like his Syndra, is terrifying.
It's another mismatch. You know, when it comes to skill, Baeme has had some good performances. I don't think Athena would have really changed anything, even though he does have a career victory over SK Telecom. Faker in great form.
All right, well, that does it here for our reigning champions. In just a few minutes, we're going to turn to the fight for dominance in Group D, where the European LCS Splice is about to face off against North America's Summer Champions. It's TSM versus, Splice.
Splice.
I already said it. Thank you so much. Catch you back here in just a few minutes.